Greetings, brothers and sisters. So, I want to get into Alec Baldwin and Chrissy Teigan in just a moment, but let's start here with the celebrity dating game. I was watching a basketball game yesterday, and I tape everything so I can fast forward through the boring parts, foul shots, and commercials and things. And so very seldom do I watch commercials, but when I do, I'm always stunned at how stupid they are, especially the commercials where they're trying to be funny or go viral. But then I saw this, I was fast forwarding and I saw, was that say celebrity dating game? So I went back to watch it. And, I covered this at the beginning of COVID when everything was in lockdown and how desperate the celebrities were, because celebrities need to be fed. They need to interact with their audience. They need to interact with their fans, and they weren't able to do it. And so they invented all these ways to be on the internet to sort of connect with their fans and get fed by the, fanatical energy. And, it wasn't working. They were falling apart. Celebrities started to fall apart during the lockdown because, they can't look within inside themselves. And, without movie premieres and all these big events and the award shows and things like this, they weren't getting fed. And this is another way you can see their celebrity desperation.
3 eligible singles, 1 mystery celebrity searching for a special connection.
3 eligible singles and 1 mystery celebrity, and they want a special connection. Hard times for Zooey Deschanel, used to be in movies, and now she's the host of the celebrity dating game.
Of love! America's favorite matchmaking game is back.
I'm excited to find love, or at least lust.
And date night.
What's your favorite buddy plot?
And so, these aren't real celebrities, right? B-listers, but they need a platform.
Will never be the same.
Yeah, I like bad boys. Oh, do you?
I'm a bad boy.
I knew this was going to be great, but not Michael Bolton great.
Zooey Deschanel and Michael Bolton host the
They need 2 hosts for this thing, Michael Bolton. This has gone into the realm of the pathetic, and all of these, and I got other celebrity stuff to get to that's about this pathetic need for attention, Madam Expiration Date stuff. But the dating game and the Newlywed game were these shows that were on in maybe the 60s, and I watched maybe reruns or maybe, I don't know, when I was a kid. And what these shows were about was pushing boundaries, conservative boundaries. And there was a lot of sort of sexual innuendos and things. What they would do is they would ask very provocative questions for the time period, right? But now kids are growing up watching porn on the internet. So this thing isn't going to translate, right? Because, they just can't be graphic enough to meet the, degraded times. But when I was a kid, they had these, provocative questions and things. Everyone in the audience would go, ooh, it was a, fake whatever. Here's an example of this from the Newlywed game.
Girls, tell me where specifically is the weirdest place that you personally, girls, have ever gotten the urge to make whoopee?
Make whoopee. That back when I was a kid, that's what they said. Make whoopee. Where's the weirdest place you got the urge to make whoopee?
In the
No, he meant actually places, right? Physical locations. And so this was the kind of quality content we had when we were growing up. And so I found this. This is where Zooey Deschanel and I don't know. I just watched the very first part of it. This was the graphics. These were the funky 60 graphics, right? This was the kind of stuff they tried to put out there in the 60s, these abstract, I don't know what they are, flowers or something. She's trying to sell this turd.
The celebrity dating game is a game show where there's a celebrity and there's 3 contestants, and the contestants are on one side of the wall and the celebrities on the other, so they can't see each other, and they get to know each other based upon questions and answers alone.
Sounds riveting. I'm glad they got this guy's shoes. You know, these shoes are important.
So the celebrity doesn't know what the people look like. They just know their answers and their voices.
Wow, the possibilities are endless.
And then they have to pick one of those contestants to go on a date with.
Well, hold up, Zoe. You're going a little bit too fast here. Like, slow it down. So you're saying there's a wall, and there's a celebrity, in air quotes, on one side of the wall, and 3 eligible bachelors or bachelorettes on the other, and they ask questions, and based on those questions, the celebrity has to pick a person. Is that what you're saying here? Like, I don't know. Like, it's too hard of a concept to for us to wrap our minds around.
If you had to put yourself into an animal category, Bachelor number 3, what would you be?
I would be a panther.
A panther.
Strong, muscular animal.
He'd be a panther. He's going to put himself in a category. He'll be a panther.
Smooth, runs warm. I'd definitely be a panther.
Oh, good answer.
Good answer. Thanks, Zoe. There's Michael Bolton sitting at the piano. What exactly do you need 2 hosts for this thing? 2 hosts they need. 2 celebrity hosts.
I love a predator.
Wait, did you just say you love a predator?
I love a predator.
I just love the idea of playing Celebrity Cupid and matching up some celebrities with some wonderful mates.
Wait, did you just say mates? Matching them up with mates? You're expecting mating? Well, that one dude is a panther, so there could be mating, you know. You're matching him up for some mating.
Michael Bolton is amazing. He's really fun to work with and an amazing singer. And he...
Wait, are you serious right now? We don't just get the overwhelming host capabilities of Michael J. Bolton. We get to hear him sing as well. Wow. This is a bonus. I didn't know we were going to get to hear Michael Bolton sing.
He's basically singing the final clues in the form of a song.
Okay, let me get this straight. He's singing in the form of a song. Is that what you're saying? Well, this is breakthrough. He's actually singing, and what he's singing is a song. That's the kind of cutting-edge technology you can expect from this 3rd version of the dating game. This is the 3rd time they've tried this.
Clues in the form of a song, a love song. And I can't even describe it because it's so amazing.
Yeah, it sounds wicked amazing because Michael Bolton's music, when he has, time to prepare, and he has a studio where they're going to get the best vocals and arrangement that's handcrafted over months of Michael Bolton genius. But instead, he's going to sing some song full of clues, a love song to sort of sum up the episode of the dating game. That's got to be amazing. I mean, some haphazard type of a song thrown together, made up on the spot.
It's so good, and the celebrities are so excited when they hear their song.
'Cause every style you're dreaming of.
Wait, Michael Bolton making up a song, the newest version of the dating game, sung to the tune of I Won't Miss a Thing by Aerosmith. I think we've peaked. Stop the presses. I think we've peaked.
This acting fashionista's got you can't miss him, babe.
This dude's praying for it to end. Please let this be over soon.
It's been great because, again, anytime I can connect music with anything else I'm doing, goes to my core.
Yeah, well, at least your name isn't Michael Bolton. Nothing wrong with it. Until I was about 12 years old, and that no-talent ass clown became famous and started winning Grammys.
Well, why don't you just go by Mike instead of Michael?
No way. Why should I change? He's the one who sucks.
Kind of awakens me in a way, in a deep, deep place.
It awakens him in a deep place. You don't want to go to that place.
To be this deeply involved, it's important to be surrounded by people that make you feel good showing up every day. Zooey brings...
Yeah, this thing's going to suck. But then I saw, and I guess they've been doing this for a while because I covered this with Kanye and Kim when they did the Celebrity Family Feud.
Celebrity Family Feud, everybody. Let's get together. I got my kids on the game show. And by the way, they kind of sucked.
Oh, really?
My kids were kind of bad. And so...
They got Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe's doing this one.
I say that's the biggest one I've ever seen.
Zit.
Oh!
He got zit. Rob Lowe got zit. You know, there it is. He got it. It was the fourth answer, though. You know. Plus, this show should be called "Think Like a Sheeple," you know, because what you're trying to do is figure out what the majority of people would give an answer, right? Think within the box. It's really hard times for celebrities out there. See, celebrities have to be without shame and without any sense of self-respect or embarrassment. I mean, they always are getting humiliated. They go on these shows and it's more important. They probably have, some level of embarrassment. And I mean, they're big about the way that they appear and everything's about how the external world sees them. But you notice, and there was a kind of a funny show, I don't know what it was called, on Netflix with Ricky Gervais, and it was about being an extra or something. He was, whatever they call those people who are extras in TV shows and movies. And he got a little bit famous. He got a role on some show, some stupid sitcom. And then he went the route of reality TV, celebrity, all those things, right? Anything to stay relevant and famous, but just a complete embarrassment. And so they feel embarrassment because they're very hypersensitive to what other people think of them. I want to get in this now with Alec Baldwin, right? But they're very hypersensitive about how people perceive them. But the desire to be fed by being famous and having people look at them and being relevant in these things, even if it's degrading yourself, is, more important than the shame and the embarrassment, right? The desire for fame, whether it's fame or even infamy, is greater than being a nobody and having some self-respect left, right? That's one of the key ingredients of the celebrity culture. I saw this yesterday, but one of my viewers sent me this on, I don't know, I guess an email. And this is the best headline. Alec and Hilaria Baldwin savage for promising honest parenting podcast after Spanish heritage scandal. So what they're proposing here is a podcast called Honest Parenting. Because she pretended to be Spanish even though she is a very white girl from Boston, right? And so this is wonderful on every level. Now, I don't have a problem with her pretending to be Spanish and any of these things. I don't think anybody else should. She didn't offend anybody. It shouldn't be something that you're offended about, right? But what it is a complete embarrassment. This is one of my favorite stories from 2020. Just the way it played out. Just spectacular story. And so let me play my montage clip here.
Consider the source.
She's a white girl. Yes, I am a white girl. I am a white girl.
So, for example, my wife's on the phone with her hairdresser or her friend. She's like, really? Okay, I can't wait to see you. That's going to be great. Fantastic. What time? 12 o'clock? My wife is from Spain. Mm-hmm. And she said, blah, blah, blah.
We have very few ingredients. We have tomatoes. We have, how do you say it? Cucumbers. We have red pepper. We have, of course.
It's not easy. And I think part of it is that I'm in shape before I have a baby. And then I stay active when I'm pregnant. And I'm not trying to stay thin. I'm just trying to keep my circulation going and stretching and keep my muscle tone up. And then we're having a baby It was a surprise, a wonderful surprise.
And one time at band camp.
It was a surprise, a wonderful surprise.
And one time at band camp.
It was a surprise, a wonderful surprise.
Well, there was a scream I heard, which is the scream that's normally reserved if there's a spider in the house on Long Island. I'm not exaggerating.
So the first part of the book is philosophy on how to live very namaste. I have 3 little babies. I live kind of a crazy life between work and them and everything else. So it's just, how to stay calm and centered and deal with things that are coming at you. Then we could talk about food.
Consider the source.
Oh, she's a white girl? Yes, I am a white girl. I am a white girl.
See, what's great about this is her parents. This is the Thomases, and they're both really white, very Anglo, right? Thomases is, English muffin, Thomas English muffins, right? And so they come from Boston, and the mom is something like a doctor, and the dad's a businessman. And they, and she grew up in Boston, and her legal name is Hillary Thomas. And so she grew up as a very white girl in a very white place in Boston, affluent, right, comes from money. And so the story that she was Spanish and her Spanish accent were completely made up and seemed to be a little bit crazy. I think she just, wanted to be Spanish. They have a fascination with Spain. Her parents retired to Spain, and they went there on vacation a lot, and she ended up changing her name and acting Spanish, but only some of the time, right? And that's not how accents work. Let's go to her Instagram page. So she, something exciting coming soon. No, not that. Well, I don't know what you thought we were thinking, but they have this new parenting blog because, it was called Honest Parenting because they're such examples of being honest. And so what was great about this was Alec is very clueless about the whole thing. He came out and talked about her being Spanish, and they never were able to deal with it. But the timing was just platinum because Alec more than anyone else was crapping all over Trump. And he was, he would relish Trump losing. But she was getting canceled and was getting harassed at the very time that Trump's, election debacle happened. So he couldn't bask at any of it. They were completely on the defensive, So Alec would have had this big moment where Trump was finally gone, and he couldn't say anything because he was completely, here's a picture of that. This is Hilaria's Instagram. He was completely owned by this thing, right? Both of them were. He's glaring at me because I interrupted them to take this picture. You all know that I'm not even joking. Operation Cat Complete. I don't know what that is. It's just stupid. But mostly she now posts pictures of her kids, but she used to have very provocative pictures on here and stuff. She does some sort of yoga. But, she hasn't done anything to offend anybody, at least as far as I can tell. If we ever go on a road trip, imagine the lip-syncing possibilities. And so, I'm not sure who that is. It's not Alec. That's not lip-syncing, Hilaria. Can you lip-sync it in Spanish? That's some lip-syncing. Good job. That's wonderful little Instagram content here. But there's a lot of pictures of kids. But if you go back a ways...
Hey guys, how are you? So I wanted to respond to some things that I've been seeing on Twitter, and I just want to be very clear, just because I think that there's some stuff that needs to be clarified.
This is where she did a horrible job of clarifying that she was just acting or either crazy, right? And I'm leaning more towards crazy. And Alec has been sucked in by the crazy, and they don't know what to do about it. There could be MK Ultra stuff, I don't know. But this is, again, the timing of the thing was incredible.
I've tried in the past to be clear, but sometimes people don't always report and write what you say, and I've kind of just put my hands up. But
she tried to be clear in the past, but now she just put her hands up because she made statements about not being Spanish in the past, but having a Spanish accent, but they don't understand her explanation. So she just puts her hands up.
But now we have this great community here, so I can just be straightforward with you. I'm sorry, I've got like my crazy hair.
The definitive word here is crazy.
So there's been some questions about where I'm born. I'm born in Boston. And then I spent some of my childhood in Boston, some of my childhood in Spain.
No, you are the daughter of white people who live in Boston, right? And you visited Spain. That's what you would say if you were being honest. Like if you're being honest, you would say, yeah, I grew up as an American in Boston, but loved to go to vacations in Spain with my wealthy parents. By your logic, all of us who went to Disney World when we were kids are part cartoon, right? We can go from being real people turning into an animated cartoon because we spent part of our childhood in Disneyland.
My family, my brother, my parents, my nephew, everybody is over there in Spain now. I'm here. And so there was like a lot of back and forth my entire life, and I'm really lucky that I grew up speaking 2 languages, and I'm trying to raise my kids so that they speak 2 languages too.
But your original language was American English. It wasn't Spanish. So here's the problem with like her trying to rationalize this thing. This is trying to do damage control, right? She does also a lot of little girl stuff. Like there's a little girl posture. She's got her, hands around her knees. And she talks like a little girl a lot, but she wears provocative clothing. So it's like a sort of a weird thing she's got going on here.
And that's something that's very important for me, especially having my family abroad. So that was one thing. I think people ask sometimes about how I speak. I am that person that if I've been speaking a lot of Spanish, I, tend to mix them. And if I'm speaking more English, or doing a lot of English, then I mix that. It's one of those things that's always been I've been a little insecure about over different times. And, when I try.
Yeah, see, that's not how accents work, right? This is the way accents work. You're born into speaking a language, and then you learn a second language, and you speak that one with an accent, unless you're really good at it and you get fluent. But people who speak with an accent aren't trying to speak with an accent. They've learned a second language, and that's the best that they can do, right? That's the best version of English or whatever their second language is. To speak it with an accent that shows people where you're from. You know what I mean? Like where people are from, or you get an idea where they're from based on what their accent sounds like and what their original language is. Accents aren't choice. If you take all these immigrants who come over from another country and learn American English, or they come over from, England or something like that, or India, and they speak a different form of English, or people who in the South, or people in the Midwest, or people in Boston, or people in New York, and even in those cities, people have different accents, right? People have all these different accents in England, and you have all these things. But if you're coming from Spain and you are trying to speak American English and you have an accent, it isn't by choice, right? There's people who can do accents, like we all can do, some of the accents, right? Most people can do a Southern accent or a Midwestern accent. But in terms of speaking a different language, like coming from Spain and speaking with a Spanish accent like you're doing, it's not a choice thing. It isn't because of insecurity. It's because they can't speak and sound like an American, right? They can't speak American English. Just like if you're, coming from America and you learn another language, they can tell that you're speaking it with an American accent, right? Or an English accent or whatever it is. And so it isn't a choice. Like you can speak without a Spanish accent because we've heard you, right? So either you have multiple personalities or you're acting, right? Or you're making yourself sound Spanish. You're pretending to sound Spanish, right? Like, it's not a choice. And that's the whole problem with your story and Alec's story, which is fundamentally dishonest because it's something that you acted, like you performed this in one way or another. It's either crazy, where you have some sort of, alternate ego or personality that comes out that has a Spanish accent, or you have pretended to be someone you're not. And you got caught. Instead of just owning it, they came up with this complex, I don't even understand their story here.
Try to work, I try to enunciate a little bit more, but if I get nervous or upset or something, then I start to mix the two. And again, that's just something that I've always been a little bit insecure about, but I've decided maybe 2021, we will get over that, and I'm definitely addressing it very openly right now.
No, you're not, because you grew up as a white girl in Boston from Anglo-Saxon parents who are wealthy. You went to private schools, and your whole education was in America. Everybody who knew you as a kid said that, or a teenager, said that you spoke like an American, like you have that ability, like you didn't just, So what psychologically happened to you where now you mix the two, right? Like when you say, how do you say English? Cucumber, right? That's crazy. That's either crazy or faking, or both. But you didn't have to do that. You know what cucumber is because you grew up in Boston. And you got caught pretending to be something you're not. Plus, her legal name is Hillary. She grew up as Hillary Thomas, a very white name, very, I mean, you have all these like mousy, dark-haired girls in Connecticut and Boston. Very, you see a lot of girls that look like this in that area. I grew up in that area. And, she doesn't have a Boston accent. She doesn't sound like she's from South Boston, right? She doesn't have a thick Boston accent. She has sort of a Connecticut accent where, you have people who have money. She grew up in money in Boston, and her name was Hillary Thomas. She changed her name to Hilaria, and she started talking a Spanish accent. And she fooled people because you can do that, right? And, it's innocent, harmless, no big deal. But you got caught, and it's embarrassing, really. And now you're coming in with this bizarre story about it.
With that insecurity. But this idea that I try to speak more clearly in each language. I think that that's something that I should try to do. And, but sometimes I mess it up, but it's not something that I'm like playing at. So I want that to be very, very, very clear.
No, that's a lie. You're playing at this. You don't have to do that. You grew up speaking a language, and again, there's no reason for you to be speaking Spanish in America, right? And she lives in New York. It's not like she's in some place where there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people. If you're around Spanish-speaking people, fine. But when you're talking to your audience that wants to hear you speak in English, then you don't have to have a Spanish accent. In fact, that's something you don't have, right? Like you literally don't have that. It's something that you're making yourself do. It's an act, right? You're pretending to be Spanish. You're playing at it. It's exactly what you're doing. You're playing at being Spanish. You're not Spanish. And when you have this Honest Parents podcast, you no longer can do this, right? You no longer can go on the internet and talk or go on some show and talk with a Spanish accent because everyone knows you don't literally have one. You can speak without it. It's something you're making yourself do. And if you're not, then it's crazy town, right? If you've created some schism in your personality where you have to talk in a Spanish accent, it's because you made yourself do that, because you grew up speaking American English and you've lived in America your whole life. You're married to a famous American actor and you're around American people all the time. You don't have to speak with a Spanish accent unless you want to, unless you're playing at it.
And then my name. So when I was growing up, and in this country, I would use the name Hillary, and in Spain, I would use the name Hilaria. And my family, like my parents, they call me Hilaria. My whole family call me Hilaria. And
you know, I took Spanish when I was in, what do you call it, junior high school for 2 years. And I was known as Pablo. And when I went to class, we all had our Spanish version of our name, which is, you know, I think that's a smart thing to do, right? And to get into whatever it is. But my name wasn't Pablo in real life. Yeah, when I went to Spanish class, it was Pablo. And maybe, you know, someone might call me Pablo who was in my class outside of class, you know, as a joke or whatever it was. But my legal name was Paul, right? And my name isn't like, you know, my name isn't the equivalent of Paul in every language in the world, right? You know, whatever it might be, Pasquale, I don't know. Like every time I talk about a country or I'm with somebody from that country, I don't change my name to the name in their country, right? Because that's not how it works. Like your name isn't Hilaria, whether your parents called you that or not. And she's saying it here with a Spanish accent again. It's not that. It's Hillary. Your name is Hillary Baldwin. It used to be Hillary Thomas because you're a white girl from Boston, which you're about to say.
it was something that was always kind of like I see other people do it, and it always kind of bothered me that like neither name sounded good in the other language. So I would, use one or the other. When I was a dancer, I would use that. In American high school, I would do that. And then, a handful of years before I met Alec, I decided to consolidate the two because it was just like so many documents said so many different things.
That's not true. Your legal name is Hillary. Like she signed it on a tax form. And so you might have told people you're Hilaria because at some point she reinvented herself, right? She did a Jan Brady. Let me put that Jan Brady thing I had from another video, right? She pulled a Jan Brady and a Peter Brady. And changing your name doesn't do anything. It's the kind of thing, where people, it's like the Brady Bunch, where it's like the new Jan Brady.
Well, you may not have a good time, but the new Jan Brady is going to be a smash. Oh, okay, everybody. Here's my sister, the new Jan Brady.
Jan, that's terrific.
Thanks.
That's the funniest joke you've ever played. You really look funny. That'd be great for Halloween.
Halloween.
Or when Peter Brady put on a new persona and he said pork chops and applesauce.
Hi, Alice. What's for dinner? Pork chops. Pork chops. Huh? What else? Applesauce? Pork chops and applesauce.
She reinvented herself. Instead of being Hillary Baldwin or Hillary Thomas, she started telling people she was Hilaria. And it was interesting because she's not really an interesting person otherwise, right? She doesn't have a lot of, she's not somebody that would stand out in terms of her personality and things. And she was, hobnobbing with rich people. I mean, that's how she met Alec Baldwin, who's very pretentious. He likes opera and these types of, high class things. And so for those people, you have conversations, they have dinner parties, and you have to come up with stories, right? You have to be interesting. And most of these people don't have a lot of things inside of them that would make them interesting. And she wasn't interesting as Hillary Thomas. She has a very high voice. She's a smaller person. And so she doesn't have a lot of things that would make her stand out in that crowd. Like she's a dime a dozen in that crowd. But when she says she's Hilaria from Spain, I mean, Alec digs it because he's, talking about that over and over again. He says his wife's from Spain because he was into it, right? Like that's one of the things that attracted him to her. And so she put on a fake accent and she transformed herself into Hilaria and she got a huge response. And then she became a social media person. Alec Baldwin's Spanish wife, who grew up in Boston. And eventually, you know, in the time of cancel culture and the internet, it came out at the pristine, I mean, the best possible time. At the same time Trump was getting canceled, she and Alec were getting canceled, and it just rained on Alex's parade, right? Stole his thunder. It was just, you know, this was just a wonderful timing. The timing is platinum.
And at least, you know, like even things like going and picking up a prescription, I'd be like, I don't know what you have on file. So I consolidated and I identify more with Hilaria because that's what my family calls me. And I don't know, but one of the things I love about what my parents called me is that it means happy. It means happy in both languages. I think that we can all be really like clear that it's the same name, just like a few letters different. So I think we shouldn't be so upset about it. And if whatever you guys...
Nobody should be upset about this. For me, it is, you know, this has made me happy, Hilaria or Hillary. You know, in either language, I'm happy about this. Like, this is one of the feel-good stories of 2020, and now we're into 2021, because it's just going to keep on coming back up. You're not walking away from this thing, right? But in terms of you change your name, you change your persona, you pretended to be someone you weren't, or, you know, this, I mean... There's MK Ultra stuff or crazy stuff. Who knows what's going on here? But whatever it is, I'm enjoying it, right? And I'm very happy that they're trying to have an honest talk about parenting, right? Coming from, you know, this disaster. I mean, this is, you know, it's just embarrassing. Like, at the heart of this thing, it's just embarrassing. And even more embarrassing for Alec, who got sort of catfished by this whole thing. You know, he married Hilaria, but in reality, she's just Hillary.
If you guys want to call me, I will respond to both. But literally, whatever you guys want. And I feel like those were all the points. The name, something about our wedding that, like, you know, I've have all these people from Spain come over for my wedding. We had 44 people come over, my family, my friends come over, and it was like magical. And ultimately this this boils down to this idea where this is a country of a lot of different cultures. And I think that we can be different parts of ourselves with different people. And I'm somebody who I feel really lucky that I grew up with two cultures. I grew up speaking.
You grew up with one culture in America, right? And then all the other, you know, whatever cultures that are in America, American culture. You grew up in America. You vacationed in Spain. You didn't grow up in two cultures, right? Maybe you have a past life in Spain, maybe, you know, whatever it is. Like, yeah, obviously you speak Spanish very well, but you're, you know, this persona that you created isn't based in having two cultures and based in you wanting to have two cultures. Having two cultures would be if your dad was Spanish and your mom was American, you know, Anglo-American, and you spend half your time in Spain, or you spent a number of years growing up in Spain, a number of years growing up in America, and you had that experience. But you didn't. Your parents had jobs, and you know, whatever amount of time you could spend in Spain wasn't growing up there, right? If you spent your summers in Spain, you still grew up speaking American English, and you don't have a Spanish accent, you know, unless you make yourself have one.
Speaking of two languages, I grew up, you know, did I always do it well, you know, through your awkward years and, you know, trying to be more this or be more that. I've said some things about like, oh, she's a white girl. Yes, I am a white girl. I am a white girl. And let's be very clear that Europe, you know, has a lot of white people in there. And my family is white. I'm, you know, ethnically, I am a mix of many, many, many things.
None of them are Spanish. Your parents are not. They don't have Spanish in their blood. I mean, you look at them and they're, you know, they come from Anglo-Saxon, I would assume maybe there's Irish or something in there, right? You know, I mean, I'm a mix of a lot of things. My dad's Sicilian and Albanian. My grandmother's Albanian. My grandfather was Sicilian. My mother's father was German, and my maternal grandmother was Irish, right? And when you're a mix of all those things, I mean, people look at me and they usually think I'm Italian, right? Or whatever it is, right? They hear the last name Romano. But again, like I grew up with very little Italian influence. Like there's a lot of Italian people in Connecticut, and we visited my relatives. But my dad, you know, had a little bit of Italian stuff, but he didn't speak Italian. And so I grew up as an American with an American accent. And I could have focused on any one of those four things, you know, and told people I was one of those four things. But that would be, you know, dishonest, right? Because I grew up as an American. There's plenty of cultures here that I'm interested in other cultures, but I don't pretend to be a part of one of them. I don't pretend to be from another country and have, you know, and speak another language and put on a fake accent unless I was messing with people. But I wouldn't do it for 4 years or whatever. You know, 10 years.
Culturally, I grew up with the two cultures. So it's really as simple as that. And
it's as simple as you faked it. Like, just say you faked it, right? I mean, just, you know, some version of what I just said. Everyone can see it. Like, that's just, you know, this is such a bizarre story. And they're sticking with this story, both her and Alec, that this is unfair. Everyone's being unfair because they won't accept this story. A story, and it's a fake story. It's a dishonest story. That's not what's happened. You want to be Spanish, but you're not. Like, that's, you know, like you could have said that. Like, I don't know, I wanted, so I pretended to be something I wasn't, right?
the reason I wanted to take it so seriously is because these are more, cultural conversations or things that we're having a little bit more and more. And I just want to be very, very clear. And in the past, I would get very frustrated when reporters would report this or report that, or and I'd try to be very clear. And they'd be like, "Oh, so you were born in Spain." And I was like, "All right, let me give you a spoiler alert. You're the only one who knows." And I would be laughing because it was like, anytime I would say it, people just want to label you as something else. And I'm like, "I'm born in Boston." It was literally the first thing that I told my husband. And yeah, I'm a different.
Literally for the first thing, he walked up and said, "Hi, my name is Alec Baldwin. What's your name?" "I was born in Boston." I'm not Spanish. I was born in Boston.
Different kind of Bostonian, but that's who I am. And you kind of can't change your background, nor would I want to. I'm really, really proud of who I am. And
no, you're not, because no one thought you were like Hillary Thomas from Boston. They thought you were Alec Baldwin's Spanish wife named Hilaria. You completely are not happy with where you came from.
All of my different experiences, and has it made me insecure as everybody over the years? Sure, yeah, I've had my insecurities, but I'm learning that, what makes me unique is also of value to myself, and I can embrace it. And yeah, so for all of those of you who are confused about where I'm from and why I speak 2 languages. I grew up speaking 2 languages, and again, my family lives in Spain. And I can't wait to see them after the pandemic.
Okay, nobody's confused. You're the only one who, when people don't accept reality, this is, ultimately I would love it if people accepted reality, but people from Hollywood and these celebrities, and especially when there's a scandal, it's wonderful when they don't. This is what makes this hilarious, Hilaria, is that she just won't, say it. She won't admit it to herself, whatever craziness that's going on there, whatever psychological stuff or whatever stuff that's going on. She won't admit the truth of the thing, right? Which is obvious that she grew up in a culture as a person and didn't like that, and liked it when she pretended to be somebody else, and that pretending became, who everyone knew her as, and then it came down that she was a fraud. You're a fraud. This is, you fake stuff and you're a fraud, and you got caught, and that's what you say. There's no walking this thing back, right? And again, she didn't do anything to me. I mean, this has been, good content for me. It's funny. I don't, She didn't do anything to anybody else. I don't think she's, a horrible person. But you got caught being a fraud and faking something. and your insistence that we don't understand, right?
Away from them since last September, not this September, but the September before, and I miss them very much. They haven't met the baby. But again, like anybody who's like coming out of the woodwork and like claiming to like know me, I'm sure we do probably know each other of some sort, and I'm sure that, you know, when we're at certain phases, when we're trying to be this way, be cool or be that or whatever, when we grow up, I mean, nobody wants to go back to those years. I'm sure that we all, you know, tried to be our coolest self as we thought at the time. But, you know, as you get older, you kind of...
What she's talking about here is all kinds of people that knew her when she was young, grew up with her, said she never spoke with a Spanish accent. She never had one, right? The thing here is, the simple thing is your accent is fake, right? This isn't about you being cool. Like, you're choosing to have an accent, right? People who moved to America, grew up from another country, and have an accent, that's difficult for them. They probably don't want the accent. They probably want to fit in, most of them. But you chose to have an accent. Like, that's the difference, and that's what makes you a fraud.
Just embrace who you are, and you just kind of want to be open about it, and that's what I'm trying to do here, is that this is just who I am and my life story, and it might not fit into your cookie cutter and might not fit into a label, but it's my weird...
Yeah, weird. It fits into that. Weird it fits into, but also crazy and also in denial. But it's not that it doesn't fit into our label. It doesn't fit into reality. This is not a real, you know, this didn't happen the way you said it did.
Mix of who I am. All right, guys. I hope that cleared anything up. If you want to talk about it more, I'm an open book, and I'm so happy to talk about it.
No, you're not, because she literally disappeared right after this thing. She went into hiding. So this was the post before this. You can see she's distressed, right? Like, this is when things were unraveling. And Amy Schumer had poked fun of her, and she had known Amy Schumer. And this is when, like, the psychological schism that is created when you fake something and you believe in your lie, right? This is... And Alec, you know, the whole marriage is predicated on her being Hilaria, because that's what Alex talked about. That's what Alec talked about, how she was from Spain, and he liked that. And he, you know, superficial, and, you know, all these people want to be interesting to the other people in their class, their higher class, right? These people who are, you know, pretentious, and, you know, they go to these dinner parties and they have these stories, and she'd reminisce about her childhood growing up in Boston, being Spanish, right? All these things, her Spanish upbringing and heritage that didn't exist. And so he bought into it. She bought into it. That's why they have to keep the lie going. But here is when she realized it was about to unravel.
Quickly, to freeze my butt off so my kids don't hear this conversation, to quickly, very quickly, hopefully very efficiently, hopefully making sense to you, talk about...
See, she doesn't have a Spanish accent in this part, right? Because she doesn't really have one. She doesn't need to have one. It's something that she chooses, you know? And that's, you know, everything you need to know. Because if you don't have to have one, but you fake one, like some of the time, that's eventually going to have some problems. Like, people will be like, well, why do you have an accent some of the time? And then you find out, oh, there's fraudulent, crazy stuff going on here, right? And it's amazing that she got away with it for so long. And they must have had these whispers in her, you know, in their circle. People are like, this is strange. You know, this is the things their friends would talk about. Like, why does she have a Spanish accent like some of the time? That's weird. Like...
what happened with Amy Schumer. So she posted a photo, or reposted a photo of me with my baby, talking about this really cool cream that I helped develop and I'm super proud of and really excited about. And I've posted a million photos like that in the past, so didn't really think that it was going to be that big of a deal. Ended up being a big deal. Now, I love jokes. I think it was very funny. I actually don't understand it really well, the joke, but
she thinks it's funny. She didn't understand the joke, but she thinks it's funny. Like, she loves jokes, especially the ones she doesn't understand. Those are the funniest.
Some people tried to explain it to me, so I can kind of get it. But I love jokes. I love making fun of myself. I love what other people.
Some people try to explain it to her, but she kind of gets it, right? So this is the photo, right? It's Amy Schumer. This has since been deleted, but she posted this on Instagram, and she wrote, Gene and I wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Enjoy it with whatever family members are talking to you this year. It's not really a good joke. But the reason she posted this is supposed to be her baby Gene, and this is supposed to be Amy Schumer. And Amy Schumer is, sad dumpling, and she isn't in this sort of a shape, and it's a weird photo. Like, this is a weird photo for her to be in her, lingerie. Like, who's taking this photo? Is this Alec taking this photo? Who's taking this photo of her? Is it one of her kids? They have a servant who's taking this photo of her where she's posing in lingerie. This is Victoria's Secret stuff, posing for a Victoria's Secret thing, holding her baby. Weird, right? Just strange. She does these kind of strange photos. And she said that the photo was for some amazing cream or whatever it is. You just heard it. She was advertising some cream that she said she helped develop because there's advertisements on Instagram. That's what these celebrities and pseudo-celebrities and influencers do, right? Their pictures and their stories are there to pitch various types of products, and they get money for it. So she's advertising some sort of body cream in this bizarre, unrealistic, unnatural photo. And Amy Schumer, I think she does this quite a bit when I used to make videos on her, the sad dumpling. And she would take pictures of other people and pretend it's her, and that's, her level of comedic, her level of comedic ability. And Hilaria Baldwin, she's confused by this. And so she doesn't understand the joke. The joke here that Amy Schumer would pretend this is her and she's mocking Hilaria Baldwin. And then from this is right at the same time when things start to unravel. The story was broken about Hilaria Baldwin right when Amy Schumer was posting this photo and making fun of her. And so things were starting to unravel for her at this moment.
I can kind of get it, but I love jokes. I love making fun of myself. I love when other people make fun of me. What is the point in living life if you're not laughing? You guys all know I make fun of my husband all the time, and if you're going to dish it out, you better be able to accept it back.
Yeah, you haven't spoken in a Spanish accent. It's been like a minute. And she's just full of fun. She's funny. She's always making fun of her husband. And, you're going to dish it out. You better be able to take it.
But basically, my only concern with it is it seemed to start to spiral out of control, at least from what people are telling me. I just received a couple of calls from people, and then we decided that this was the best way to deal with it.
You mean speak in an American accent and talk about this funny joke that you don't understand? This was the best way to deal with it?
Where we're getting into a place of body shaming. Now, does it hurt my feelings if some people are out there who I don't even know are, critiquing why I might post a photo, and if I had looked differently, would I have posted that photo? I sure hope so. Because I love looking at photos, supporting our bodies, our temple that we live in 24/7. I love.
So, you posting a picture holding your baby in your underwear on Instagram, you would do that if you were, 25 pounds heavier? Is that if you look like Amy Schumer? I mean, that's fundamentally dishonest because you've been faking a Spanish accent. You're
love it. Doesn't matter what you look like. I love it. If you're honoring yourself and you're celebrating yourself, I love it. Now, the problem is that sometimes we put down people's shapes. Now, that might be you think the person is too thin. That may be you think the person is too big. The person is too this. The person is too that. But if you're doing body inclusivity, that's body inclusivity for all. Now, there's the whole thing of oh, moms don't look.
Wow, it's amazing, like, what they'll talk about. Like, they're just how superficial their lives are. I can't, let's just... So this post is from the 22nd of December, and the one I showed you earlier was the 27th. So she is in the process of having this meltdown and not understanding what's happening, right? The internet's turned on her. Let's go to the end here because it's just painful. I've spent way too much time on this.
But 2020, we've had so much negativity over the past year. Stop. We're better together. I can't wait till the time where we're not afraid of this virus and we can go out and be with each other again and truly be together. But until this time, it's this. It's via social media.
So she starts glitching out here. She obviously gets more and more triggered as this goes along. She's triggered at the end. And she starts to glitch out here in a couple of ways. Right now, it's her mouth and the words, the audio and the video aren't in sync.
Yeah, it's talking to our families on FaceTime. And so just let's be a little bit kinder, because everybody is suffering mentally. And those comments that you make towards me, yeah, I've gotten to a place where I don't let them affect me too much, but there's other people, if you make those comments, it does affect them. Or there's other people who read those comments and see the way that you're treating me, and then they keep that for themselves, and that hurts their feelings. And I've heard this from people. I'm not making this up.
This is where she's like a child, right? Seriously, I heard this. I'm not the one who's upset. I'm perfectly comfortable dealing with something like this. But I heard when you treat me this way, other people, they identify with me and their feelings get hurt. No, I didn't make this up. I didn't make it up at all. Like, I heard this from people actually told me this happens. I didn't just make this up, right? These are real facts. This isn't fake news. I heard people say this and I'm defending them. I don't know them personally, but people told me and I heard it. And since I'm not upset, I thought I would, since I'm not upset and triggered by my life falling apart here. And so this is the same kind of stuff Alec Baldwin and all of those Hollywood, people used to criticize about Trump. They used to say he made things up, right? And, didn't speak factually. But here she's doing this. Instead of owning up to it when they get caught, when they get exposed, they have pushed this incredibly, childish narrative that she spoke with a Spanish accent because she had two cultures, which is not true. And they're not, owning up that she faked all this stuff. And this is where it started. This is where her meltdown started.
I heard this from people. And so that's why I decided to make a statement, is literally just to say to you guys, stop. It's a woman with a baby. It's a tired woman with a baby. And you know what? Move on. Love you all.
So she really glitched out there at the end, and she does the way that it worked out is she's putting her hand across her throat like it means to cut their throat thing, and she said, I love you all. And so the thing about this video is also about being fake, this subject, right? It's Hollywood celebrities melting down, famous people who are, in need of attention. But you can see from this photo, it's clearly staged and professionally done. Now, she said it was an advertisement. And this whole, rant she just went on is because Amy Schumer and other, mothers are mocking her because she just had a baby. And she's not fat, right? She doesn't have any, post-pregnancy baby, baby fat or whatever it is, right? But it's not a natural photo. Like, if somebody's taking this photo of you, you either giving them permission or they're stalking you. She's in her bedroom walking around, her bathroom or something, in her underwear, and her hair is done, and, she had makeup, all that kind of stuff. And they've touched up the photo. It's photoshopped, I'm sure, all these things. It's a professional photo, and it's all fake, right? This is fake. Like, she's being accused of being fake, of faking an accent, and she's saying, no, I'm sincere, I'm legitimate. And that's, not what's happening on her Instagram page. This is a fake photo. Like, this is not a natural photo that happened organically. See, these are all these are all very, she has a lot of yoga things that she does, right? Like that, you know, I don't know what the hell that was. She's got these pictures of her family. These are all posed pictures, right? These aren't like organic, oh, this is just normal life. She's doing her yoga thing. You know, all these people wearing masks as they go through the various time things. She does yoga. She, you know, dresses in, you know, tight clothing. She's often showing cleavage. All these are posed, right? They're not taking any photos that are, that look natural and normal. They are, you know, photos that are meant to make them build a brand. This is Instagram model. She's an Instagram model. And people know how this works. Like, who took this picture, right? Is somebody stalking you and watching you while you're asleep? He's wearing his watch. Does he wear his watch when he sleeps? Whatever. Like, I don't know. But through amazing times, the challenging ones, and the many memories, and the tiny people we have made in between, thank you for being my rock, my courage, my joy, and my forever Valentine. Okay, this was so mushy, and I can't help but be me. Yeah, you can. You are my pain in love. What? I don't know. And I love you. Again, who took this picture? Are you being stalked? Did somebody come in there and say, oh, this would make a good picture? These guys are snuggling, just waking up. Black and white photo and pretentious. This is, you know, how celebrities are. They create fakeness. You know, everything about them is fake. Like, they have a fake brand. I mean, it's probably more offensive. Like, I don't know if she's a nice person or, you know, whatever she is. But there's lots of Hollywood celebrities that pretend to be nice. And I did a video on that guy, I forget that comedian. There was this comedian who was, you know, on the Joe Rogan show, and they were talking about all these fake Hollywood activists who don't care about politics and these things. I mean, they were saying that they're not nice people, right? He's seen these people, you know, yell at people for having the wrong kind of water or whatever in their dressing room or trailer or whatever it is. I mean, they're egotistical, horrible people. And then they pretend to have a cause, or, you know, it's always the same liberal stuff, right? It's all fake. But this is particularly fake. You can see it more because she pretended to be from somewhere she wasn't, have an accent she didn't need to have, and then got caught. And instead of coming out and admitting that she was, you know, faking it, she had this complex story that nobody understands. And so this is, you know, another way that Hollywood and these celebrities are falling apart. So let's go to Chrissy Teigan back on Instagram after cyberbullying scandal. This is another example of this, because her brand was she spoke truth in ways, she said things that other people didn't say. But it came out that she was drunk. She admitted she was drinking all the time. So it wasn't that she was outrageous, she was just drunk. And so this says, Chrissy Teigan made an appearance on Instagram over the weekend amid her cyberbullying scandal centered around her cruel messages she sent to a reality star, Courtney Stodden. Teigan, who apologized to Stodden on May 12th for the old jabs, popped up in a photo on her husband John Legend's page that was snapped at their daughter's Luna's dance recital. And so this isn't even her own Instagram page, but they're trying to work her back in and, you know, test the waters. But she wrote to two people, apparently, not just Courtney Stodden. And she said something to the effect that they should kill themselves. Like bullying on social media and this cancel culture and all the things that are going on, that's pretty much as bad as it gets, right? And so what they're doing is trying to test the waters by her not posting on her own accounts, but her husband posting a picture of her. Like, so she can come back and be a social media icon. Because there's big money in being an influencer. Both Chrissy Teigan and Hilaria Baldwin are, you know, influencers. Chrissy Teigan was a model. She was a little bit famous. She married a more famous person. And then she got a lot of fame and became an influencer on social media and was making big bank because of it. Same thing with Hilaria Baldwin. She's somebody who, wasn't famous. She married a famous person and then became famous in her own right, and a social media influencer where she was being paid money by various companies to pitch their products on Instagram. And you can be a celebrity's spouse and not be famous, but you're going to be famous to some extent, right? If you go to a restaurant, people will be like, oh, that woman over there, that's Alex Baldwin's wife. Like, that'll be, just by marrying somebody famous or having, a relative that's famous, people will point you out and you'll have some more access and more social media fame. And then some of these celebrity spouses take it to a new level because they like it. They want to be famous themselves. That's one of the reasons they marry the person who they marry. And Hilaria Baldwin is clearly like that, right? She had this persona. She created this character that was, that had a Spanish accent some of the time. And she was into being famous. And she posted sort of provocative photos. She likes being seen in tight clothing or her underwear. I mean, she likes showing cleavage, these things, like so many Instagram models do. I mean, there's plenty of these people out there who are Instagram models or Facebook personas, right? People who are social media celebrities. A lot of people want to be famous, and now we're taking a different route. And if you're married to someone famous, or you have some, some angle or hook like that, or a relative who's famous or something, you can have more, following on social media. And Hilaria Baldwin was one of those people. Maybe she has that sort of histrionic personality disorder. There's a histrionic personality disorder where the person is very flamboyant. They have, they wear provocative, inappropriate clothing at times. They're very dramatic. They cause a lot of drama. And they seek attention. And this video is all about celebrities seeking attention during the shutdown, and their fakeness and their, their vampirishness where they're sucking in energy is exposed. And these two, videos I showed you of her is her being really defensive and upset because people aren't perceiving her the way that she's marketing herself that's consistent with her brand. And that's a huge problem for these celebrities. And someone like that who's new to it, like she's been married to somebody famous, and she got famous through that, and she hasn't had any negativity and people attacking her. Lots of people attacked Alec Baldwin for going after Trump, and so she was on their radar, and that was a part of this. And then when this story about her faking a Spanish accent came out, then people descended in on her. And she had never experienced that before, like many people don't when they're, not really gone through the rigmarole of being famous, right? This is their first experience of having their fans, the mob, turn on them. And she didn't like it because a lot of her self-esteem and self-worth is how she's perceived. That's why she's made this Instagram page and cultivated these photos, staged these photos, these fake photos, to make her appear like something she's not. This is where she's marketing her relationship, where her and Alec are, posing for somebody to take a picture of them and then turning into a black and white photo for Valentine's Day, where she's selling this dream relationship of marrying an A-list actor and having money and success and fame in these things. Like she's selling an image and a brand, and that's how she wants people to think about her marriage. And so these people are very, aware of what other people think of them. They're hyper-focused on what everyone else thinks of them. And they'll take hundreds of photos just to pick the right one. And they'll try on multiple outfits just to have the right look, right? This is all across social media. There's so many people, non-famous people that do this, right? That are marketing a brand and they want to be perceived in a way, and they're just creating an illusion because that's not how they really are. That's not how they really look in real life. They get, fully decked out and makeup, whatever it is. They get into better shape, and then they take all these photos and family photos and say how great their lives are, trying to sell their relationship, and they're, miserable because they're both narcissists and both attention-seeking people. they both need to be fed. When you have two narcissists that need external input from people, like, Madam Expiration Date, Madonna, is the prototype of this type of personality. They need to be fed. They can't feed each other because they're both takers, right? They're both soul suckers. They're succubuses, vampires. They're ghouls, sucking energy. That's why I call it insta-ghoul. Sucking energy off of other people by marketing these, this brand and what they appear to other people on the outside. And this is why I talk about the heartfulness system so much, because it nurtures you from the inside, and you go inside, you connect to God, and love is what everybody wants. Everyone wants to feel love and be loved and feel, love inside themselves. But most people have had that love extracted from them just, based in their crappy lives and miserable people, mean people, and broken hearts and disappointments. And so they don't have any of this love energy, prana, inside themselves. And they're desperate for it. So they look for external input, people, adoring them, people, telling them they're great, and, building their self-worth and self-esteem through other people, patting them on the back and praising them. And that's what this is all about. The social media phenomenon is try to get thumbs up and hearts and, pats on the back and all these things, instead of building it from within, which is the central point of this YouTube channel. That it's just fake. That stuff is just all fake. It's not real love. It's not ever going to make you feel, good about yourself. You have to be a good person inside, not build some fake brand that people, applaud this fakeness, not create a fake persona, where you're desperate for any sort of attention. At the end, you're willing to go on the celebrity dating game. And so it's been brought full circle. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.